All right, so let's get back into it. I'm glad everybody's weekend was great. So I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides again today. I think I'm going to share my whole screen. Okay, so welcome back. We are here, section 4. Thank you all for joining me. And then again, I'm an aerospace engineer. For anybody new joining us, aerospace engineer, and I love teaching math. And because it's one of the things that you'll need for any of our STEM or STEAM professions. And so, yes, Kanina?
I think my brother Chicago is gonna come here, but he's having trouble with the computer.
Okay. Does he want to come sit with you?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I know he usually is in the other room. But thank you for letting me know.
Okay.
So, do you all remember what STEAM stands for?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you have it in your notes.
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yep. So that's what STEM, and then STEAM adds the arts to it too. So Kanina, you have your pencil and paper too? You have your notes from last time? And so Shyla, what does STEAM stand for again?
Science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics.
Very good. I have that in here too. Yeah. So I said this, I think, on the very first presentation, but I know all of you weren't on there, so I wanted to say it again. So I went to school at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I'm originally from Michigan, but I've been in San Diego for 8 years. And that's where I got my bachelor's in science and engineering and aerospace engineering. So I just went to school for 4 years. So just like most other colleges or most other programs that you study, you only have to go to school for 4 years. So I did that for engineering, and then I studied abroad. Do you all know what that means?
Is it like you go on stage or something?
Well, so abroad actually means in another country. So you're not here anymore. So yep, I studied abroad and went to Hong Kong, which is in China. And I went to university out there, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and learned more about math, but in China. Yes, Shyla?
Did you see the Great Wall of China there?
I did. Yep. So for spring break, my friends and I went to Beijing and went to the Great Wall of China and walked it. And there's a part where it's really, really steep, and so you got to kind of climb it. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. But yeah, so we went to a lot of places while I was over there. We went to Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, a lot of different places, Korea. So that was a lot of fun. And that middle picture on the right is what my school looked like. So the school was kind of in a mountain, and then it had all that water right next to it. So my dorm that I stayed in was right next to all that water. It was really cool. And then since I've been in San Diego, I went back to school and got my master's degree in business administration. So that's what an MBA stands for, a master's in business administration. And I studied innovation and entrepreneurship at Point Loma Nazarene University. Have either of you been there before? Kanina, you've been? Oh, okay. Yeah, so Point Loma isn't too far away. I mean, it's in San Diego, but then it's right next to the ocean too. Hi, Chukwubuka. Oh, different. He's in. All right. I think he's still getting it. Oh, no, he went from downstairs to upstairs. That's funny. All right, and then so I got introduced to engineering through the Detroit area pre-college engineering program, and then I When I went to college, I learned more about engineering through the National Society of Black Engineers. So those are like two organizations. The DAPSEP is where I was from in Detroit, but then NSBE is a national organization. So that's a little bit about me. So again, Chukwuebuka, thank you for being here. Can you tell us what STEAM stands for?
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Very good. And then can any of you all tell me what it means to be an entrepreneur? Yes, Shyla.
The person that works for themselves.
Very good. All right, and so again, we have our one page of notes, our summary page. Sometimes I'll tell you to put things on there. Then, so what's on your summary page of notes, or what notes do you all have from that multiplication table exercise that we did last week? I'll ask each of you. And Kanena, you gonna go first? What did you write down from our sessions last week?
Me?
Say that again.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wrote down the problem we did before and how to like solve like if you use the numbers to solve the problem, like what you do. You don't know the number in the box. You don't know the number in the box, so you use the numbers that you have already to find the answer.
Yeah, that was very good. I know exactly what you're talking about. So you're talking about the problems or like the puzzles that we solved last time. So
Yes.
We talked about rows and columns and coordinates and all of that stuff. So yeah, you use the numbers that you have to find the number that's missing. Very good.
I think I wrote down all of the problems we did.
You wrote down all the problems we did? That's really good. Yeah, that's good to have that in your notes. So then if you ever need to go back and see how to do those problems, you'll know how to do them. That's very good. And then Shyla, what do you have written down from last time? Well,
What I have is like the column up and down and then row left and right. That's what I wrote down. And then I just have some multiplication problems on here, and then I just have like the little box thing. I don't know if you can see it, but like what we did last time.
Very good. Yes, that's really good. Yeah, so remembering that rows go left to right, like how we read, left to right, and then columns go up and down or vertically, and rows go horizontally. Good. Chukwuebuka, what do you have from the last lessons that we did?
I wrote down that Sokudu puzzle.
What about the puzzle?
I wrote it down.
Okay, can you explain to me something about it that you wrote down?
Well,
Either how did you do the puzzle, or talk me through some of that.
I don't want to say what Kanena said.
You can say what he said, but I know that you'll say it differently because you're a different person than Kanena. So you can say something similar or just say it in your own words.
Well, I used the numbers that were given to me to try and fill in the numbers in the box. And also we learned about coordinates.
Yeah, really good. So tell me something that you learned about coordinates.
What? I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
It says, tell me something that you learned about coordinates. So what's the first number in the coordinate, and then what's the second number in the coordinate?
The first number in a coordinate is the row. The second number is the column. The row goes horizontally and the column goes vertically.
Very good. Yep. So thank you for that. All of y'all did a really good refresher of last time. So glad you all learned something. All right. So now this week is about algebra. What do you all know about algebra?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, that's good.
Nothing.
Good. You all will learn something. So have you all learned about negative numbers and stuff already?
Yes.
So Shyla and Chukwuka, yes. Tamina, no. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about negative numbers and how to add and subtract them from each other. I'm going to give you a few problems and then see how you do with them. But first, before that, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So like we know, just like 5 plus 2 is 7, 5 minus 2, 3. But then when you start to talk about negative numbers, you find out where that number is on a number line. And then when you add a number, you move to the right. And when you subtract a number, you move to the left. Or when you have your negative numbers, if you're adding a negative number, then you would still move to the left. So it's like you're subtracting. So we'll go through this a bit more. But then when you have a negative number minus a negative number, so negative 5 minus 2, another way to rewrite that is that you kind of make that negative sign into a plus sign, and you can do negative 5 plus negative 2. And then similar here, negative 5 minus a negative 2, you can make those two plus signs. So I'll show you how I kind of learned it, because I know some of you all are visual learners like me. Look at my whiteboard. Yes, Shyla?
When you said negative numbers, I don't know if you're talking about like what I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
In my head. So like if you were to subtract negative 5 minus 2, would it become negative 3?
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. So before we get there all the way, I'm going to show you what I was talking about, where you have these special things where you have, oops, I had negative 5 minus 2, negative 5 minus 2. And then the way that I kind of learned it growing up is that you can rewrite this by making that a plus sign and that a negative sign. So then you end up with negative 5 plus a negative 2. So you all want to write some of this down in your notes that you have. Negative 5 plus negative 2. And then similar thing, you have negative 5 minus a negative 2. Then you can make the minus minus, or minus a negative, into a plus plus. Then you end up with negative 5 plus 2. And so another way to write that first one, if we're just using letters now instead of the numbers, and so it can be any letter, so negative A minus B. Then again, you can make this a plus and this a negative. So you end up with negative A plus negative B. And then if I did letters in this one, negative A minus a negative B. And you can do plus plus and get negative A plus B. So can you all write that down a little bit? So then that's the most tricky part about subtracting a negative number or subtracting a number from a negative, is that it gets a little complicated. I know, Kanina, this is a little bit past where you are because you haven't even learned negative numbers, but if you can write it down for now, and then we'll get into it a little bit more. I'm gonna mute because this construction. Okay, so now going back to what Shyla was asking about some things with negative numbers. And so as you can see, I have exactly what we just did with the A's and the B's, same thing. And so to go back with your question about what the actual answers are, this is the thing that I keep in my head all the time when I deal with negative numbers, is this number line. And so you have, for a number line, the 0 is called your origin. And then, Kanina, have you seen this number line before, like this? No? Okay, so that's good. So I'm glad that you can see it here. So you have all the positive numbers on one side, and then you count from that origin to the left, and that's how you get all the negative numbers. And so what we were talking about, so let's do some of these problems on here. So if you have -5 + 2, I think I'm going to share it a little differently so that I can see both at the same time. Okay, there, I'm going to share just this. I have a number line over here. And so if we did -5 + 2, well, let's start with 5 + 2 before we get more complicated. 5 + 2. So do 5 + 2, you start at 5, or you can start with your number actually on the number line, and then you add 2. So adding is going to the right and subtracting is going to the left. So if y'all can write a number line down like this on your paper. So Chukwuebuka, do you, are you comfortable with adding and subtracting negative numbers, or is this something kind of new for you?
I'm not completely okay with it yet.
Okay, good.
I feel like I still need to practice a few more problems.
Yeah, good. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so y'all have your number line written down, and then so if you have 5 + 2, you start at 5, and then you add 2, which means go to the right 2 times. So 5 + 2, you end up on 7. Now if we did 5 - 2, we would start at 5. And then since it's minus, now we move to the left 2. 5 - 2, which is 3. Everybody got that part, right? Good. So now it gets a little more tricky. So now we're gonna start at -5 this time and add 2. So now if we do -5 and add 2, start here at -5 and you add 2. So what number do we end up on, Shyla?
-3.
Very good. So -5 plus 2, -3. And so this is how I always do negatives. I always picture this number line in my head. Because it's just, because I'm a visual learner, and when I see it, then I can understand it better. So now let's do -5 plus a -2, or which is the same thing as -5 minus 2. I'm going to write it both ways because some people may understand it differently. So now this time we start at -5 again, but since it's -2 or plus a -2, we move to the left. So Kanina, what number do we end up on here?
-7.
Very good.
Wow.
Yep, perfect. So those are the simpler ones. Y'all did really great with those. And so now, giving you those problems that I gave you before, which is -5 minus 2. Oh, okay. Yeah, we just did that one already. And then if we did -5 minus a -2. So let me make it this color. -5 minus a -2. So for this one, I'm going to erase what we have here, but you all can still keep it on yours if you want. And so starting again at -5, but then it's kind of difficult to know which way do you move. Do you move left, right? It's a little tricky. And so that's why I always like to rewrite it by putting that, since it's the negative, since it's minus a negative, I make it plus a positive. And so now I can rewrite it as -5 plus 2. So now we start at our -5, and since we're adding, you would move to the right. -5 plus 2, which is -3. Is everybody good there? Shukabuka, you got a question? Okay.
No, I'm good. I understand it now.
Very good. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to move along. Let me stop sharing this, and I'm going to go back to sharing my whole screen. Okay. So now I'll give you all some time to do these. You may not need 5 minutes, but you might. And so if it helps you draw your whole number line out, actually, I'll copy it from the last one and I'll put it over here too. And so if it helps you to just touch it on your screen and move your finger over, then that's completely fine too. So I'll give you all 5 minutes. I'm going to go on mute because of this construction.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is number 1 4 minus 5 or 4 -5?
So it can kind of be either one, but yeah, 4 minus 5. So you would start with your finger or your pencil at the number 4, so +4, and then since you're minusing or subtracting that 5, you would move it to the left. So you start at 4 and move it to the left 5 times. Kanina, did you write them all down okay? I can't hear you.
I'm on the last one.
Okay, very good. So yeah, all of y'all take your time. And like we usually practice, go back through them all. And, so even if you want to start at the last one, start with number 5 and go backwards, or either way. So make sure you go back through them and just redo them all. Take your time. All right, everybody good? Yes, okay. Good. So, did I put the answers on here? Yes. Okay, so let's, so Shyla, can you explain to me how you do number 1, please? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
So what I did was I did 4 and then I went back 5. I went left 5.
Mhm.
So like I got 1.
So when you go back 5 from, say that again?
-1.
-1. Very good. Yep. Good. And then Kanina, can you help us do number 2?
So is that actually no? 4 minus 2 is
Mhm.
2.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so same thing. If you started at 4 and then you move back to the left 2, then you have to
1,
move it back 2.
2. You move it back 2 times.
Mhm. Yep. Good. And then Chukwuebuka, you want to do number 3?
Now that I'm doing it, now that I'm actually writing it down, I'm not really sure if I actually did get it. Maybe I just thought I got. I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. Explain to me how you did number 3.
So 5 plus -4. So I got it. So first I started out with -4, and then I added 5. And for negatives, it would be going left if you're adding. So I got -9.
Okay, so the thing is, since we read, left to right, always start your pencil or your finger or however you're doing it, started at that first number. So you would always start at the 5, not the -4. So you started at the 5, and then when you have a negative number, you move to the left, or when you're subtracting, you move to the left. And so you start at 5.
So then what are the parentheses for?
Yeah.
Isn't there one parentheses that means that you do that first?
Kind of. For this, it's really just showing that negative sign is with the 4.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's.
Oh, I thought the parentheses stopped meant that that we had to put that first.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's also in like the next couple of slides. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So you're talking about order of operations, and so. But yeah, the way that it's used here is that it's just saying that negative is with the 4. Because if I would have just written 5 plus -4, then it would have been like, wait a minute, is this 5 plus -4, or is this 5 plus something else? And so then that's when you put the parentheses around it to just say that negative is with that 4.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
I understand now.
Yep, so you would start at the 5 still, and then go back, go to the left 4. And so what number do you end up at?
1.
Yes, perfect. All right, and then Shyla, you want to do number 4?
Well, this one, I got -6
Okay, how did you get that?
because I did 8 and subtract. Oh, I did 8 and subtracted it by 2 and got 6, but um,
Yeah, so I like that explanation. However, that's the thing about using the number line. That's what I say for me. I still use the number line anytime I'm dealing with negative numbers, because if you start to just do 8 minus 2, then you'll get really confused with the negatives. And so I always think about the number line. So if you start at that number line on your screen or wherever you wrote it down, if you start at 8, and then what was the rule when you have a minus a negative? What does that turn into?
you add it.
Yep, so you end up plus a positive, so you get 8 plus 2.
So it was 10.
Yes, yep, that's exactly right. So yeah, anytime you deal with negative numbers, and like I said, I still do this. I still have a number line in my head anytime I'm adding and subtracting negative numbers. Because yeah, if you just try to just 8 minus 2 and then you try to throw the negative back in there, then it just gets really messy. All right, and then Kanina, can you help us with number 5? Can you, there you go.
I'm not sure, but I think my answer is -4.
Okay, so how did you get that?
What I did, I know you can't take away 9 from 5, so what I did, I took the first 5s out of it, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4. So then, wait, actually, no, I think I got -5 actually. I
Okay,
got -5.
so if you use the number line, which it just helps a lot to just use the number line. And so if you start at 5 and then you move to the left, because you're subtracting it, you start at 5 and move to the left 9 times. So let me show you on my number line. Let me erase these. So yeah, if you start at 5 and move to the left 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then what number do we end up at?
4.
So
-4.
Very good. -4. So you said the right answer, but the way that you did it was a little different.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
And I know for me, this helps just seeing the number line, because I learned through visual things. And so I can see things and see pictures. And so I just see the number line, start at 5 and move it to the left 9 times. So here are all of our answers. So you all can make sure you write them down. Yes, Shyla?
Well, something I found out about number 5 is how you can, like, another way you can see the correct is it's because 5 plus 4.
Can you say that part again? 5 is 4 what? Say it again.
I said another way you can find out if number 5 was correct is because 5 plus 4 is 9. That's just what I told them.
Yeah, so that's another way to check your answer. Yeah, very good. But then you start to have all these negatives in there, so it gets a little more confusing. But yeah, that's another way that you can check it. All right, so let's move on. And let's talk about squares. So have you all seen anything squared before or what that means? Shyla, have you seen this before?
No.
Okay. So Chukabuka, can you help us with what you remember about squares?
I remember talking about it in 5th grade. I just don't remember the exact meaning. Can you give me a few seconds to try and remember it?
To find what?
So remember what? Oh, a square is a number times itself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So 4 squared would be 4 times 4.
Good. And so where did you learn that in class or did you remember that from last time?
I learned it in class.
Okay, good. Yes,
Great.
we talked about it a little bit with our multiplication table. And let me skip back up there real quick. Here, where all those diagonal numbers were those perfect squares again. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9. So that's part of where we had it before. Now coming back down here. Yeah, so it's just that number times itself. And so that's actually how you calculate the area of a square is you have the one side times the other side, and that is the area squared. So that's how it's shown and it's represented S squared. And I think I have it here. Yeah, where you have 5 squared equals, and so you'll see it a lot like this in your classwork in your online system, or like if you're trying to put it in a calculator, you'll see it look like this. There's this little thing called a caret that has 5 raised to 2. And so that's exactly what this looks like. 5 to the second power, or 5 squared equals 5 raised to 2 equals 5 times 5. So what's 5 times 5? That out there. Anybody? 5 times 5.
25.
Good. Yeah, because it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So then you have that. Then in the second row, 5 squared equals 5 times 5, which is exactly what Chukwuebuka said. 5 squared equals 5 times 5. Again, another way that you'll see it written in your online systems is that 5 raised to that number 2. Same thing, equals 5 times 5. Then a way to write it down in letters, so whatever numbers you want to put in there, S squared equals S raised to 2, or to the power of 2, equals S times S. So can you all write this down and then put something about it on your one page of notes too? When we're talking about S squared is S times itself, or a number. 5 squared is 5 times 5. So however you want to write that down, and maybe on your summary page, so then if I ask you what that is, you'll know what it is. So Kanana, can you write those down on notes? You all may not need to write all of them down, but I just wanted to show it all there because we'll see it different ways. Sometimes your books has it with the number 2 up there as a superscript is what it's called, or an exponent. 5 squared, and then on your online systems, when you're putting it in the calculator or trying to submit your answer, you'll see it 5 with the caret, 5 raised to 2, but it's all just means 5 times 5. Yeah, good. All right, let's move on. So this is starting to get into order of operations, what you were talking about earlier. How much time do we have? Let me just do this one and then we'll do just a couple from that other one. So order of operations, what do you all know about this? Shyla, do you know about order of operations? Oh, can't hear.
I know what PEMDAS is.
Okay, so what's PEMDAS?
Well, it says right there, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, divide, add, and subtract.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then, yes, Chukwuebuka, you're going to say something. I was going to ask you a question, but go ahead.
I did order of operations in 5th grade, but we didn't add exponents yet.
Okay.
The teacher said that we were going to do that in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exponents are just exactly what I was talking about, where you have something squared. The exponent part is the 2, that squared part. So, yep, that's good to know. And then, Kanena, have you seen any of this before? No? Okay, good. So you'll be here learning stuff with us. Yep, so you do your parentheses first. And then that's what you were asking earlier about that negative sign. So the negative sign isn't really telling you to do that negative in the parentheses first. But you have that. You have your exponents next. You do multiplication and division, whichever one goes from left to right, and then addition and subtraction, left to right. So let's just pick a couple of these since we don't have a whole lot of time left. Maybe let's do number 1. Let's just do the first column, 1 through 5. Let's do 1 through 5. And then next time we'll do 6 through 10. And so I have the little note up there at the top right of your screen that s to the power of 2 equals s times s, which you have in your notes too. So I'll give you a few minutes. 1 through 5 only. Yes, Kanina?
I think I have the answer to number 1.
Okay, so what's the answer to number 1?
No, I think it's 10.
So how did you get 10?
So it says 4 plus 2 times 3.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you have to get 2 times 3 to get the answer, your number. So 2 times 2 is 6. So, and then I added it to 4, and I got 10, because 6 plus 4 equals 10.
Very good. Yep.
I think I have an answer to number 4. I mean 2. I mean number 2.
Okay, you can do number 2. Go ahead.
I might not, but I think I do.
I think you do too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
5 plus 3, it equals 7. So 4 times 7 will equal 14 and 28.
Okay, so yeah, that 4 times 7, but do 5 plus 3 again.
5 plus 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, oh yeah, 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's good. So then 4 times 8.
4 times 8 equals 16.
Mm-hmm. That's 4 times 8 is 16.
32.
32, perfect. Yep, because you had 2 16s. Very good. So then, Chukwuebuka, you want to do number 3?
Okay.
Which one?
Okay. So I remember. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I remembered what you showed us earlier, PEMDAS, and I knew exponents came before multiplication, so I did this first. So I knew 2 times 2 was 4, and then I did 4 times 5, and I got 20.
Very good. Perfect. You want to do number 4 too?
Okay. So I went back to PEMDAS again, and I knew that multiplication came before addition, so I did that first. I did 5 times 3 to get 15, and then 2 times 15 is 17.
Yeah, 2 plus 15. Yep, perfect. And then Shyla, can you do number 5?
I wasn't sure about number 5, but I did 5 times 3, which equals 15, and then 15 divided by 30, which is 0.5.
So for PEMDAS, you have to go left to right. So you did that. I know you did multiplication first because it came in PEMDAS first, but it's between multiplication or division. You have to go left to right first. So it's not that the multiplication always comes before the division. It's whichever one is left first. So for this one, you would actually do the 30 divided by the 5 first. You see that? So yeah, because multiplication and division, they're kind of on the same level, and then addition and subtraction are on the same level. So you do whichever one comes left, whichever one comes first. So you do the 30 divided by 5, which is what?
I'm not really good at math.
Okay, so what's a way you can figure out what 30 divided by 5 is?
On like multiplying 5 until you get 30.
Yeah, so 5 times what is 30?
6.
Very good. So 30 divided by 5 is what?
6.
Yep, perfect. So yeah, you're good at it. You knew exactly how to do it. So you got 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then times 3. So 6 times 3.
18.
18, very good. And then let's see, Kanina, talk me how you would do number 6. Talk me through it.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. So with the order of operations or PEMDAS, what step do you do first? What's the P stand for?
The what?
The P for the order of operations. Did you write those down? I don't think I gave you all time to write them down. Probably should have. So I'll go back to it after this, and then if you can write them down, that would be good. So Chukwuebuka, you want to help them? How would you do number 6? Unmute yourself. Oops.
Keep forgetting to unmute.
It's okay.
Anyway, if you go back to PEMDAS, if you go back to PEMDAS, then you know that E for exponents comes before A for addition. So you do the exponent first. So 3 times 3 equals 9, and then 4 plus 9 equals 13.
Very good. Yep, and so the other ones get a little tricky. I will just talk you all through them right now, and then next time we can start with these. And so number 7, you have -7 squared. And so you do -7 times a -7. So if you just have the numbers, it would be 7 times 7, which is 49. But you have a -7 times a -7, you have a negative times a negative. And what does that make? Anybody remember? Negative times a negative?
Negative.
Okay, so you all may not have learned this stuff yet, so that's cool. Good to know. But a negative times a negative makes a positive. So yeah, maybe we'll go through that a little bit next time too then. Negative times a negative makes a positive. So you have -7 times a -7. You end up getting positive 49. Multiplied by 1 is just 49. And then for number 8, you have -5 squared. So -5 times a -5. 5 times 5 is 25, but then you have a negative times a negative. But that one's a little different because that parentheses aren't with the negative. So it's just saying -25 times 1, you get -25. So these get a little more tricky. We'll go through these next time, and then I'll explain multiplying negatives. We did adding negatives today, so next time we'll do multiplying negatives. So do you all have any other questions? Anything that you all, let's recap something that you learned today, if you don't have, unless you have a question. So Chuko Buko, you want to go first? Something you learned today.
Learned how to add and subtract negative numbers.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's good that you know that now. Yeah. And then Shyla, what's something you learned today?
I learned algebra and a little bit more about this.
A little bit more about PEMDAS. Good. And then Kanina, what's something that you learned today? You gotta unmute.
I learned negative numbers, a little bit more of the negative numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I knew they they existed, but I just didn't know what to do with them or anything. So I learned a little bit about them, and I may use them in the future.
Yeah, you'll definitely use them in the future. But yeah, you may not learn this until you're as old as your brother or as old as Shyla or something like that. So it's good that you know this stuff now, and you can teach your friends that are your age how to add and subtract, and especially using that number line. So you all did really, really good. Stop sharing. Yeah, you all did really, really good today. I am proud of you all. You all are so smart. So yeah, very good job. I will see you all on Wednesday. So yeah, you can keep doing more math stuff or just have fun. Kanina, you had a question?
No.
Okay, very good. All right, well, I will see you all Wednesday at the same time, 10 o'clock. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.